said he'd been waiting all his life to be the man he dreamed for me. And when he spoke of the future, he said it doesn't exist if there's no we.
I just wanted to welcome everyone for coming. America's Hometown Laureates is a nonprofit organization that has just recently formed to continue our work with our local poet laureate, who is currently Stephen Delbos. But we are here to promote the next competition as well as other poetry and cultural events throughout Plymouth and the South Shore. So tonight you are in our second inaugural Plymouth Poetry Festival event. So welcome to you all. Thank you. So I would like to take a moment just to read a Langston Hughes poem called Dreamer. I take my dreams and make of them a bronze vase and a wide round fountain with a beautiful statue in its center, and a song with a broken heart, and I ask you, do you understand my dreams? Sometimes you say you do, and sometimes you say you don't. Either way, it doesn't matter. I continue to dream. Thank you. Thanks, Langston. And now I would like to introduce Miriam O'Neill, who is my own personal poet laureate. She and I go back a long way working at the Plymouth Public Library. She will be this evening's MC. Welcome.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thanks to America's Hometown Laureates for organizing this. And thank you all for coming and being our audience. We love when people come to hear poetry. I want to start with just a short poem by William Butler Yeats, which I thought was appropriate for the venue. And it's his birthday on June 13th. He would have been like 197 by then. But anyway, this is W.B. Yeats, A Drinking Song. Wine comes in at the mouth, and love comes in at the eye. That's all we shall know for truth before we grow old and die. I lift my glass to my mouth. I look at you. I sigh. We have some wonderful readers tonight, people who have been reading poetry in and around the South Shore for a long time. And I'm so happy that they agreed to come and read for you, for us. And we're going to start with Susan Thanis, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself and read you some poems.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here. This is wonderful to be part of this hometown group, although I live a couple of towns over in Duxbury. But I love poetry. Began writing several years ago when I had a poet laureate, had a poet come to teach in my high school. And she had a class for teachers after school. That was back in the 70s, a long time ago. But I do love being here, and I thank you very much for listening. I'm going to begin with a poem that is about me when I was quite young. Lemonade. Freckles galloped across the bridge of my nose, new spots appearing each summer. They'll fade, you'll see, everyone said when I was 12. But not believing them, I'd sneak into the kitchen, peer inside the refrigerator to look for a lemon tucked under the lettuce in the bin below. Then, with knife in hand, I'd creep upstairs, hoping no one was in the bathroom. The blade, sliding beneath the peel, released a pungent spray from the pulp I rubbed on my cheeks and nose, blinking back tears. Now, I wish I still had those freckles instead of the ones covering my arms and hands. And I prefer my lemon on lobster or in tea. And this other one, this next one, does sort of fit being here with you wine drinkers. You remember during COVID how we always went out masked everywhere, and sometimes we could not even get inside the stores where we were going. And this is about the first time I went to the liquor store to buy some wine. Liquor store hold up. Face masked, I strode up to the bar door and said, "Give me 2 bottles of wine." My credit card poised like a snub-nosed pistol. The woman guarding the door warned, "You wait here," and slid back inside holding my credit card. I waited and wondered what was taking so long. Finally returned with 2 bottles, different sizes. She asked, "Which one?" I replied, "Give me both." It's amazing what fun to go around masked. If I had paid with cash, she wouldn't even have known who the masked bandit was as I made my getaway. The next poem I'd like to read is an ekphrastic poem, and I love the artist, and I do paint too, the artist Vincent van Gogh, but he's always just loved his work anyway. And at the Museum of Fine Arts, we have a few paintings by him, one of which is called Roulin the Postman, this painting. And my poem is called Hanging a Print of Roulin the Postman. Dear friend, let me look into your eyes, blue as the serge suit you are wearing. You deserve so much more than the gold on your jacket. It cannot repay your relationship with my first love, the Dutchman, whom you alone befriended when he was living in Arles. Yes, I know you are married, have 5 children. I've often watched your wife rock the cradle, crooning her lullaby. Your older son once spent time in the small room off my bedroom. Now you inhabit my guest room. It's so much better having you here, you see. In the past, the only way I could spend time with you was at the Museum of Fine Arts, and then it was never in private. Someone was always looking over my shoulder. Please give me your gnarled hands. Let me massage those arthritic fingers. You know you must keep them in shape. You still have many more years to deliver papers. What a pity you'll never receive mine. And the last poem I'd like to read is about an experience that I had about a year or a year and a half ago, and I think maybe some of you have had the same experience about numbers on the highway. Turn here. Yesterday, I left home for exit 6A in Plymouth, but drove right by it. 6A was nowhere in sight. When I found myself at the bridge to the Cape, I knew it wasn't right. It was a bridge too far. Confused, I headed home to exit 10, but it had doubled its number to 20. I was Charlie on the MTA, unable to reach my destination. Now I couldn't even find my home. What in tarnation could I do? My only thought was to take any exit and find a route I knew by heart. What peace, what comfort to find a familiar highway. I turned left, kept driving past signs for Gulf Gas and Dunkin' Donuts, feeling so relieved I missed my road, but had a lovely drive in the countryside before I turned around and rolled right into my driveway. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Yes, I hate the new numbers, frankly. Our next reader is Mark Walsh, and you're in for a treat, another treat.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Jennifer, and America's Hometown Laureate, and thank you, everyone, for being here at the second inaugural event of the Plymouth Poetry Festival. So my name is Mark Walsh. I teach at Massasoit Community College, but I actually got my start teaching right around the corner on North Street back in the 90s when I started teaching at Quincy College's Plymouth campus down here. And I was involved in organizing poetry events there. That's where I met Miriam, and it's great to be back, as always it is, in Plymouth. Now, the first poem that I'm going to read is part of this collaborative art installation project that I worked on earlier this year when the Poet Laureate of Brockton, the city that I work in, asked me to take part in this project where we had a series of mosaic pieces by an artist from Somerville whose name is Emily Bagarva. And we all had to pick a piece of one mosaic that she had done and write a poem about it. And now all of those 6 pieces are on placards that are right outside the side entrance of the Brockton Public Library. So you can go and check them all out. They're fabulous. And this is my poem, and it's called Slow Wine. Slow wine. A weed is a wonder, tempered by winter's crust and summer's weird heat, simmering with deep-coated growth, knowing a persistent secret, like shattered glass shards stitched into a picture. Pulled up each July without surrendering the root, multiple stalks climb for air in a September surge, steady bloom in a season's decay. This is slow wine, a refusal to ferment or convert to a thing consumed, flowers steady in place and time. Fragmented light along dandelion shafts, a thing once broken is stronger by half. Thank you. And this next poem is a villanelle because I'd never written a villanelle before, and I felt I had to try a villanelle. I didn't want to leave this earth without having written a villanelle. I've now written a villanelle. Will I write another one? Maybe not. But this is called A Destination is Not Some Place for Arriving. A destination is not some place for arriving. Let the detour be the detour meant for you. Keep your eyes on the road that you are driving. Burn a path on this earth for thriving. Do not waste time in the existential queue. A destination is not some place for arriving. You need to be okay with the mileage climbing. A longer route gives better reason to keep your eyes on the road that you are driving. There is nothing in the other lane depriving or leading to that life with promise new. A destination is not some place for arriving. Never surrender the vehicle you are steering. A passenger's life is one without a view. Keep your eyes on the road that you are driving. Own your breakdown. Mix it with your striving. Don't let cheap comparison be your last curfew. A destination is not some place for arriving. Keep your eyes on the road that you are driving. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And our next reader is John Holgerson.
Thank you, Miriam, and congratulations to the Hometown Poet Laureates for putting together the festival, and also to all the different venues that are hosting the festival. My name is John Holgerson, and I am a writer, and whenever I stand up and say that, I feel like I'm at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
Louder, please.
Okay? My name is John Holgerson, and I am a writer. I've written 3 books of poetry, Broken Borders, which was published in 2012, Unnecessary Tattoo, and Other Stains on a Stainless Steel Heart, which was a chapbook published in 2016, and in 2021, Convictions of the Heart. I'm reading poems tonight from the second book, Unnecessary Tattoo, and Other Stains on the Stainless Steel Heart. The title poem, Unnecessary Tattoo, is somewhat of an ekphrastic poem. I was in the bar of a Mexican restaurant with some friends, and a young lady was talking about the fact that she had received a gift certificate for her birthday, and the gift certificate was for a tattoo. She didn't have any other tattoos, and so I asked her, well, have you given any thought to the design that you're going to get? She took out a pen, and on a napkin at the table, she drew a design that this poem hopefully describes. It's my understanding that a lot of great ideas have come about as the result of conversations held in Mexican restaurants, the bars of Mexican restaurants, and I certainly hope that this is one of them. Unnecessary tattoo. A bruised heart, cleaved in two, stitched down the middle. No mystery or enigma here, no obscure or secret riddle. It's there, behind your eyes. It's the catch in your voice at the mention of star-crossed lovers or the vagaries of choice. It can be seen in the ashes of the cigarettes you snuff out, the lingering sparks of memory in your holy grail of doubt. Don't tell me when it's done, the needle round and thin, the short, hot veneer of pain, the stain upon the skin. It's just another private part you'll likely hide from view. A duplicitous reminder, an unnecessary tattoo. This next poem I read for the first time at a venue down in Falmouth called Calliope. And with me at that reading was Danielle LeGros-Georges, who was, at the time, the City of Boston Poet Laureate. And when I finished reading this poem, she told me in one word of criticism, that was a wicked poem. And I have no idea if she meant that in the Bostonian sense of awesome, or whether she meant that in the more traditional sense of wicked. So I'll read the poem and I'll leave you all to judge. It's called Book of Desire. I hear you want to erase the chapters you can't forget, dissolve our past embraces in the acrid acid of false regret. I know you'd wish you'd never shared the secrets that you did, the ones that made us cry, the ones you kept so well hid, among the texts on your cell phone and the pictures that you sent to those whom you admired, who paid your beauty testament. It doesn't matter how often you hit the worried word delete. Our history has been etched on the hard drive by time in human heat. So put your hand in mine now. I'll accept any apology that's sweet, and we can write new chapters in a book that never was complete. And now on a more serious note. In 2015, I spent 3 months on a Greek island away from my wife, and I wrote this poem for her at that time. It's called Ubiquity, for Robin. I thought I could write just one damn poem without thinking of you. See one yellow flower along the uneven road's edge and not think of your hair. See one bluebird fluttering in the budding lemon trees and not think of your eyes. Late morning light melts the last stubborn shadows, warms the placid Aegean, and diminishes the stars. You are asleep beneath the same constant constellations 5,000 miles from me. You are here. So I have 2 short poems to finish. This one I wrote when I was 22, just yesterday. It's called Lament. Before I left, I wanted to trace the profile of your face with my finger, brush your curtain hair with a seashell comb, the way atavistic artists prepare portraits, the way the blind see to remember. And as Miriam has already mentioned, William Butler Yeats' birthday is the 13th. And this is one of my favorite poems. Supposedly, it's one of the last poems that he wrote. And he told his publishers that whenever an anthology or a collection of his poems is put together, this poem is always supposed to be at the very end of the collection. I have no idea as to the veracity of that story, but it sounds nice. Politics. Oh, politics has an epigraph. The epigraph is a quote from Thomas Mann. In our time, the destiny of man presents its meanings in political terms. I think the poem, Yeats wrote the poem somewhat to refute that concept. Politics. How can I, that girl standing there, my attention fix on Roman or on Russian or on Spanish politics? Yet here's a traveled man that knows what he talks about, and there's a politician that has both read and thought. And maybe what they say is true of war and war's alarms. But oh, that I were young again and held her in my arms. Thank you.
So, William Butler Yeats is getting his time here. Our next reader is John Rogers.
So, yes, my name's John Rogers. I'm a retired architect, but this is how I spend my time. The poem's written for honeybees, but also for all us humans that sympathize with their plight of survival. Your sister bees bring honey from the sky for us to eat and enjoy, while we may learn the coolness of a riverbank nearby, the comfort of our home when we return. You guard your door and sting marauding bees who steal your food when you have none to spare. But when your stores are full, you welcome thieves to enter in and all your honey share. You scarcely see an adversarial scene disturb the balance of your divine plan. Present a danger to your reigning queen, none but the vacant carelessness of man. I met you in the forest quite by chance. You visited each scented flower and stalk while you were busy with your spirit dance. You did not have desire or time to talk. To every forest flower I see, I swear that I will offer you my silent prayer. A lot of the elements of that poem are actually true about the lifestyle of bees. They do protect their hive, and they do let other bees come in and eat their honey. You know, if they have enough, they do that. So I think that's a very appropriate image for even us as we consider our possession. Now this other poem is to Gaia, the mother goddess. Our mother Gaia has no need for clothes while walking in her garden barely seen. We see just what she chooses to expose. Of all the tiny creatures, she is queen. They stand ready to protect her honor by changing shape into a raging beast whose fearsome claws and teeth evoke pure horror, while she herself remains discreet. With gentle hands, she forms an earthen pot. From clay she gathers from the riverbed. Its shape is fixed by fire made hot. So let our prayers of love be sung and said. My words are only breath and can't go far, but they can fill this empty earthen jar. Thank you.
Before we go any further, I just want to make sure that everybody gives a round of applause for our wonderful host here at Uva. Thank you for hosting us. And I want to say how much we appreciate PAC TV being here for us and filming this, videoing, not filming. I know it's not filmed. And making it possible for us to be able to revisit this wonderful event. Our next reader is ELAINE Sorrentino.
Thank you. Hi, I'm ELAINE Sorrentino. I'm a poet from Pembroke. I'm currently the host of the Duxbury Poetry Circle. Can you hear me? Okay. The first piece I'm going to read is an acrostic poem, which means that the first letter of each line spells a word, and the word it spells is sangria. Scrumptious, saturated citrus, aromatized wine in boozy celebration. Neighbors volunteer the appetizers. Grand Marnier lifts our spirits, reduces my inhibitions, inspires me to pick up castanets and dance the fandango. The second piece I'm going to read is called Don't Let My Wrinkles Fool You. This is not the final version of me. There are many more iterations to come. The one where 5 a.m. is the perfect time to play peekaboo with a grandchild. The one where I am no longer considered a cog, but a celebrated contributor. The one where my journey to Italy yields fresh olives and newly pressed oil. The one where someone else's timetable is no longer mine. The one where purple and green ink autograph my first book. The one where I drink in the view from the Rocky Mountaineer as it winds its way from Vancouver to Banff. The one where I sneak chocolate to the naughty child in the corner. The one where I compose the ending to my own narrative. My last piece is called Opinions on Writing Poetry. And compared to a lot of poets here, I'm a fairly new writer, so I've gotten a lot of advice over the last few years. And here is some of it. Opinions on writing poetry. Write all in one sitting so as not to interrupt your thought journey. Share it with your parakeet. Be willing to look ridiculous in the privacy of your own writing. Abstain from self-censure in your first draft. Claw your way to find beauty in something that is not beautiful. Describe it in a novel fashion. Less is more. I disagree. More is more. Squirrel away your first draft. Reorder your lines later. Revise, revise, revise. I heard it took Robert Frost only 10 minutes to pen Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening in 1922. Less than 1/4 of an hour to perfect the pull between beauty and obligation. Ellen Bass admitted failure took 10 years to finish. Even as an accomplished poet, she lacks confidence. Unlike Billy Collins, fearlessness oozing from every phrase. Thank you.
Our next reader is Sarah, I always get it, I'm going to say it, Lelyveld.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. All the poems have been amazing. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. It's great. I'm going to read from a series of poems called About the Sea, and it's a collection that I've been working on. So here we go. The Lightning. The squirrels danced in the trees. They leapt from branch to limb, just struck down tree trunk, thick with bark. The creek was overfilled. Lightning had lasted for days. Just one more day, she told herself. Just one more day before the sun comes out again. The lightning had cracked the tree. The field was full of Queen's Anne's lace and clover, daisies and dandelions. She slept in the cool grass under a willow tree, an old drooping one that dangled hot in the sun. The fire ants were out. Timing is everything, her father had said. She dreamt above the clouds. She dreamt she was flying above the buildings. Hopping on one rooftop after another, soaring weightless, built like Tinkerbell. The headlights of the cars and the windows of the buildings lit the sky in the middle of the night. Weightless, she remembered. Timing is everything. She woke up to the sound of a train with a long, drawn-out horn. Under the willow tree, she looked up through its branches, a map of veins like a highway. The sun came through the branches and made them twinkle like flickering lights, a type of lightning bolts. Oh, sweet Seroquel, she thought. Oh, sweet squirrel that nibbled on an acorn next to her now. It would be wonderful to be a bird, she thought. Her mind was mindless. She thought of reincarnation. It would be perfect to rise up anew. She wanted to be a hummingbird, to take flight again, over and under and over and under. She sunk her head deep into the grass, deeper and deeper. Rise, 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 until the faint drum of her mother's voice grew louder through the screen door, calling her in for lemonade. This next one is called The Mudslicks at Low Tide. The mudslicks at low tide were a mood, thick gobs that smelled of fish, sulfur and clay, salt and wild seaweed, like fungus, moldy like left-out fruit, yet it drew her closer to the shoreline, closer to feeling it in between her toes, thick squirts as she lifted her feet like a suction cup, and then back to squirting with footprints. She saw the clams spout out water, then the dull drum sound hammering, beat, beat, the beat of children's footsteps coming from the ice cream truck. They ran past her. They held their ice cream in one hand and throwing a frisbee in the other. The wind picked up and the frisbee sailed the arc of movement around the wind until it fell on the sand at her feet. The child ran to her, she thought. You will never see him again. Just look out to a million stones, throw one in the water and watch it skip. You will never see him again. Heartache, like ice-cold waves. The water drew away. It floated like foiled gold, farther and farther away, until she could not see it anymore. It will become as smooth as sea glass, she thought. She had high hopes for it. The child tapped her leg. Can I have the frisbee? The outline of the child's shadow in the sun startled her. She leaned down to pick it up. She had almost forgotten the little thing at her foot, just outlined in light. And then the final one. My final poem tonight is going to be The Seagulls at the Parking Lot. The seagulls at the parking lot. Turning, turning the pale gray spots. She sits in the car in the parking lot with the radio on, leaning back, picking a thin piece of skin from her finger, listening to a song, soft, loud, verse, chorus, verse, it sings. She sighs and takes a drag from the e-cigarette quietly. The puff is like a cloud of wind, smelling of cherry tobacco, going up. Turning, turning, the seagulls move around and around above the asphalt, as though it was a wave, white-crested and salted. One dives down to pick up the French fry spread on the ground. Thank you very much.
Our next reader is SHEILA. Lynch?
My name is SHEILA LYNCH-BENTINEN. I live in Duxbury, and I'm a member of the Duxbury Poetry Circle. And I'm going to read one short haiku, 2 short stories, thank you stories, and a poem. The first haiku is about this morning. I wrote it this morning. Gorgeous red sunrise, wildfires in Canada, Beauty and the Beast. And the second is a thank you story. I don't know if you know, but Katie Thayer and Michelle Manwire own Uva Wine Bar, and they live in Duxbury. And Katie has a son, Austin, who just turned 21. I have a daughter, Molly, who's at the bar and thoroughly embarrassed by her mother. And she just turned 21. And Michelle has a daughter, Olivia, who just turned 21. And all 3 of them grew up together. So I know a lot about their families just because of ballet, theater, since they were 2. So this is my thank you story to Michelle, who's not working tonight, but hopefully she'll see this on tape. Michelle bought 3 tickets to Taylor Swift at Gillette in 2015 before you needed to rob a bank to go see Taylor Swift at Gillette. And she asked her daughter, Olivia, who's the 3rd person? She said, Molly, my daughter. So Molly came home, Mommy, I'm going to Taylor Swift. She was 15. She was beyond thrilled. And a month passed, and Michelle, Olivia came to our door, and Olivia was dressed as a Swiftie, if you know what that means, pink and this and that and that. Her mother, Michelle, was dressed as a Swiftie. Molly was dressed as a Swiftie, and off they drove to Gillette Stadium. And I was so happy that Molly got to see Taylor Swift. All night, I got text messages. Mommy, she's playing this song. And she would send me a little video. And there was a new singer, Shawn Mendes, who's now popular, who's the opening act. Mommy, have you ever heard of Shawn Mendes? He's so cute. And she played a little video of him singing. And then Michelle dropped them off, about midnight it was. So this was 8 years ago, and it was such a memorable night for me and my daughter, and I wanted to thank Michelle, who's not here tonight. My second thank you story is for Katie Thayer, who might be standing right there by the wine bar. So Katie's son, she has another son who's older, but her son Austin, who's 21, grew up since age 2 with my daughter Molly. And I have many, many stories, so many stories, but the one I remember most is Austin wanted to go look at colleges, and he wanted to look at Roger Williams in Rhode Island. He called or texted Molly, do you want to come with me so we can have fun while my mother drives us to Roger Williams? And I had already taken my daughter to Boston University, serious chemistry program, and she was highly on the fence about that program. And we went to other colleges. But she came back from Katie Thayer's road trip to Roger Williams and said, Mom, that's where I'm going. And Katie had spent all day showing Austin, who also ended up at Roger Williams. And when we went again later, I said, what finally convinced you about Roger Williams? Well, Katie's road trip and cute boys and good food. So my daughter, who now I've thoroughly embarrassed at the bar, is graduating in chemistry next year because of Katie's road trip. So that's my thank you to Katie.
There was talk of them being roommates, but I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know, as freshmen,
Fine.
if that would have happened. So Katie and Michelle were in the Caribbean, Grand Cayman as friends, and they went to a Southport wine bar, and they had a few glasses, and they said, we could do this in Plymouth. And that's how this bar was born. And there's many other stories about Katie and Michelle that I won't talk about, but but this poem is called Uva Wine Bar. Uva Wine Bar grew out of a dream, two women in the Caribbean hatching a business scheme. I know Katie, I know Michelle. I know some of their heavens, I know some of their hell. Bonding as women do over wine, they learn to work through pain and how to make a day's sunshine. I watched all their children grow. They grew up with my daughter. Now the kids are adultish and they glow. I do not know the difference between a Cabernet and a Sauvignon Blanc, but people at tables drinking wine you can take to the bank. So lift a glass to these two. You drink wine here tonight because of their friendship that grew. I also wanted to thank Miriam for helping tonight, and also Jennifer for organizing tonight, and the Plymouth Poet Laureate group. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sheila. Now we all know how we got here. Our next reader is newish to Plymouth and to our Plymouth poetry scene, and I want you to give a warm welcome to Betsy HINCHEY.
Hi. Ooh. Can you hear me? So I moved to Plymouth a couple years ago, so newish, but really feel at home with Miriam's group, and Jennifer, thank you for putting this on. And I go to Uva all the time and write, so sorry if I sit here and just typing or scratching away. So thank you to Uva too. Those of you who have heard me read some poetry before, I tend to write some borderline serious, somber stuff. A lot of pilgrims as I get to know Plymouth. A lot of Ukraine, which is where in the area that I work in. But tonight I chose a poem that is very not my style and a little more on theme. It's called Red Wine Wisdom. The revelations come to us when we're drunk, when we can't remember one between the other, let alone the next morning. Something about babies, something about something else. Unconnected, they leave no trail to follow. Random insights the universe blasted into our brains on the way back from the city, somewhere between Plimpton and Plymouth. I can't remember the revelations, but I remember how they felt. This is it. Insights that unwound my confusion, but they led to a fight, and then I realized they were being forgotten, so I tried to write down the topics of our fight so we wouldn't forget, but that led to a fight about that, replacing both our memories about the first fight, leaving nothing to write down. Phew. The next morning's sober mind vows sobriety while wishing to be back in the state of insight. Work is waiting and the garbage truck is coming for trash that isn't outside. Water bottles need filling and the kettle needs to be turned on. Meetings need preparation, clothing. And sleep calls like the knowing mother of a toddler who knows she can't possibly know anything. Nothing is better than sleep under daylight. Soft pillows of inner eyelids, blankets of a slowing breath. I hope I don't dream at all. But no sleep now. Not until the day has deposited its waste on me and filled my brain with thorns that can only be removed by lying awake in bed, hungover from caffeine, sugar, and anxiety. By Friday, perhaps I'll forget about any vows against alcohol and be tempted to loosen the folds of my brain again. Perhaps I'll drink wine as music vibrates new cracks and holes into my mind, waiting to be filled with new insights that I'll forget to write down and forget, and wake up questioning if it was ever worth knowing at all. Seasons, cycles, circles of life, this story is the least insightful, only a cliche of everything before and everything that will come after. Things I don't remember, things I'll never know, except in those moments of knowing. Thank you.
And now we'll have Tanya Peters. You're in for a treat. Another treat.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. I'm Tanya. I've been a poet my whole life. I'm new to the poetry scene here, and I'm grateful to be here tonight. I have 2 pieces to read. Most of my poetry is drawn off of love or heartache, so I have a few of those tonight. The first one is called Widow. The morning that you left me, my world was ripped apart. My vision blurred, my voice no sound, my chest a bleeding heart. Time spins around me endlessly, the darkness overcomes, mind searching for the memories of all times that were once. We were, we had, we used to be, we everything past tense. But what we were supposed to be is gone, it makes no sense. Who will love me now? Who will know me like you do? Who will keep my secrets and who will know what's true? Who will make more memories? Who will laugh with me? Who will be there when I'm scared? I just need you to be. Who will help me raise our girls? Who will hold us tight? Who will I rest my head upon when I'm awake at night? Who will accept me as I am? And when I'm blind, who'll be my sight? Who'll take those trips we talked about by road and sea and flight? Who will I grow old with? Who will I walk beside? Who will shield me from the rain? Where will I go to hide? I just can't figure out what it is I'm going to do. I never dreamed I'd live this life not side by side with you. You've always been my comfort zone. In chaos you were clear, and now that life is upside down, there's no ease to my fear. I wish, I want, I hope you knew, if only there could be. Why can't, why not, where are you now? Why aren't you here with me? They say that ease will find my pain, that light will fill my soul, but what they will not ever know is my world, it won't be whole. They'll never know a love like ours. They'll never feel this pain. They'll never know just what I've lost. To them, it was just plain. They'll never know what is inside when they look into my eyes. They'll never know my broken soul. They'll never hear my cries. You see my love you took with you, not just a piece of me. You left me with my mangled heart exposed for all to see. No way that I can cover up, no bandage for my sorrow. No love, no hope, no happiness, no promise of tomorrow. Thank you. The next piece I have is called A Trace in Time. Can I just let you guys know what it was like for me when he came and painted that picture of what our life would be? I was just out here doing my thing, taking every shot to elevate my life, and he shows up out of nowhere talking about, I want to make you my wife. And I have to admit, his words tasted sweeter than apple pie. And I didn't want to listen to my mind telling me, girl, that's all a lie. And boy, when I tell you he was on his A game, I mean it. He kissed me in the streets, danced with me under the stars, and didn't care who seen it. He held my hand in that firm way, you know, like he'd never let go, and he looked into my eyes like he couldn't even breathe until I said so. He played me his favorite song, the one that reminded him of me, and he swayed with me in his arms and sang that one line in my ear that made pudding out of me. He smiled at me in the way that you see in the movies, in the moments when you tear up, and when we shared meals together, it felt natural to be with him like the pancake and the syrup. We spent time hiking, exploring, and trying things we'd never done. We sat in silence and meditated, and damn, it felt like we were one. When he made me laugh, it was like his day was complete, because he'd sit back and take pause, like my joy was the thing he'd been searching for, like my laughter gave him a cause. He said all he wanted was to take gentle care of my heart, and then if I let him, he'd make sure our life was painted delicately like fine art. He said he'd been waiting all his life to be the man he dreamed for me. And when he spoke of the future, he said it doesn't exist if there's no we. And the way he held me, oh, let me stop right there, because his hands on my body was just like magic, I swear. And in those quiet moments, standing on the beach looking up at the stars, he never wavered when he promised that the world would be ours. So can I just let you know what it was like for me when he came and painted a picture of what our life would be? It was like he took the last breath right out of me, leaving me with no air. And then I woke up reaching for him, only to realize that no one's even there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, everybody, for all these wonderful poems. I'm going to close with 2 poems of my own. And since we're on this theme of love, I'm going to read you a poem about, well, this is a poem for all the men who walked away, who left me standing under apple trees in winter starlight where summers sulk, who sat in my father's house wanting but not touching me, our knees grazing beneath the kitchen table. This is for the men who knew they didn't know how to listen, who stared when I used words like transcendence, who offered gifts of raucous music. This is for the men who kissed me as if kissing their mothers on the cheek, and the ones who tongued me deeply, their hands roaming my body like a closed door in the dark. This is for their faith in their wanting, for the lines they drew in me like the ancients who mapped rivers in the spaces between the stars. And this is a poem I wrote a long time ago and then discovered in a pile of papers, and it ended up in the Half-Said Things. And if you have been a mother, and especially if you have been a nursing mother, I think you'll know about this. For my son at 20, you kiss my cheek goodbye, and in a flash I receive the cinder of your infant mouth at my breast, my milk undone. In May's twilight, the sugar smell of pink Andromeda drifts through the screens. Nothing the body knows is lost. Phantom wing of my own body, I inhale your sweat and sweetgrass scent, burn where your tender scruff roughs my cheek, and send you out to meet the night. God, in the loving and in the tearing from. At dawn, the honeybees who look too large still try the heart of each puckered blossom. Thank you.
Well, that was quite a bit of wonderful poetry. Is there anyone who we're missing who didn't get a chance to read if they wanted to? And if not, I would like to thank everyone tonight, as well as Katie and Erica and the PAC TV guys, Dustin, Max, and Aaron. Did I get it right? As well as some of my personal friends who showed up and some of the poets' personal friends. We had a wonderful evening tonight. Thank you. And I hope we see you the next time.